So today I wanted to talk about something a little different. We're going to put the controllers down, step away from the PS5, and get away from gaming. I know, I'm sad too, but we're going to put on our fancy suits and talk about something I believe is important. I've been watching a lot of videos lately about how difficult it is for people to find jobs, and I empathize with those people who are struggling to find employment because I've been there before. You know, bills coming in, pockets are empty, you trying to go on dates or the strip club but you can't because you're broke. Nah, I'm kidding. But my office is currently hiring right now, and I've heard the interviews while they were happening, as well as discussed with management why they didn't like the people they just interviewed. And after witnessing firsthand these interviews, the question popped into my head: are there really no jobs hiring? Or do people's poor interviewing skills keep them from getting hired? I'm in no way denying that it's hard to get a job. I just know that we live in a generation that lacks a lot of skills in certain areas, expect everything to go their way, and also expect things to be handed to them, and that's not how life works. I'm just curious if people shoot themselves in the foot.
See that? I just shot my foot.
At interviews and then claim that there are no jobs. When your manager have interviewed an estimate 20 people in 2 weeks and they only like 2 of them, something is wrong. I've been at my job for 3 years and our management team is pretty easygoing. It's also to note that our interview process is just management explaining the job. They ask like 3 questions, and those questions are pretty straightforward. They ask stuff like, have you used Excel before? How would your coworkers describe you? When can you start? And my personal favorite, do you know how to duel?
It's time to duel!
I'm joking on that last question, although it would be cool to summon a Blue Eyes White Dragon at work. But I would like to share some of the things I've heard during the interviews and allow you to be the judge on if they exhibited poor interviewing skills. Let's start off with a doozy. I honestly couldn't believe dude said this during an interview. He thought he was just an expert in what we did, to the point he would cut off our management team and told them to let him finish talking.
Hell no!
I was like, damn dude, you bold for that one. If I was the manager, I would have told him I'll let him finish while he's standing in the unemployment line. Now, I'm no expert when it comes to interviews, but not cutting someone off while they're speaking, I would think that that's common sense. Now, I know common sense hasn't been common in hundreds of years, but something like this, I would have thought everyone knew. While we're on the topic of common, I know it's common for people to negotiate things like pay during an interview. Some lady took it to a whole nother level and asked management to speak with the CFO to increase her starting pay. Now look, I'm all for comedy, especially early in the morning, but what makes you think that you're about to come to our office and make more than us? We've been here longer and we actually know what we're doing. Our starting pay is $18 an hour and it goes up quickly. I started at $18 an hour and had 4 raises in the 3 years that I've been here, with the possible raise coming next month. Now, I know everyone has financial requirements, but asking for more money than the starting rate and you know nothing about the work the company does sounds ludicrous.
Move, bitch, get out the way, bitch, get out the way.
I don't know what's worse, someone asking me to speak with the CFO to get them more money, or having another interviewee give a disgusting face when I tell them the starting pay. Now, I get it, a lot of people don't like the starting pay, and that's fine, but if you're going to be making origami faces, I am 1000% sure that you won't be getting the job. If you're desperate for a job and to put money into your pocket, it shouldn't matter what the pay rate is. How are you supposed to get the new Gears of War in August if you're broke? Yo, are you hyped for the Gears of War Reloaded? I know I am, so y'all better brush up on your interviewing skills so you can get a job and you can afford that joint. But there's one last example I would like to give, and then I would like to give a few tips that I think will help out during interviews. And like I said, I'm in no way a master when it comes to interviews, but I do think I can say something that may help someone else during the interview process. In fact, I'm going to give you a piece of advice right now so you won't make the same mistake as this next lady did. If you're interested in the job, express it. Don't be like this lady who said, "I guess," when asked if she was interested in the job. Look, if it's something you're interested in, you're not going to say, "I guess." If Faven K came up to me and asked to go on a date, you really think I'm going to say "I guess"? Heck nah. I'm going to be like, "Let's go right now." For those of you who don't know, Faven K was a news anchor in Vegas. I don't know if she does it anymore, but I considered her to be the most beautiful woman I have ever seen before in my life, with the personality to match. But back to being interested, make sure you show that you are. I'm not saying you have to be all happy joy about it, but showing some interest can get you some brownie points. And who don't like brownies? I like the ones with the walnuts in them. But hey, this isn't about me. Interviews are important, and people should do all that they can to prepare for them because you're competing against others. But if you're making origami faces and not being respectful, the only thing you're going to be competing for is who has the emptiest pockets. So before I conclude this video, I would like to give just a few pieces of advice when it comes to interviews. So the first piece of advice is probably the most important and obvious, and that's being on time and dressing appropriately. These drove management crazy and was an automatic no, you're not hired. The next piece of advice is having at least 3 questions ready to ask. One question that I personally like to ask is, how would you describe the culture of your department? And after spending the last 10 to 20 minutes with me, do you feel like I would fit into your culture? The culture where I work right now is very important to management, and they make that clear during all interviews. Most of the time, the interviewer will talk and tell you about the job before asking you if you have any questions. So this gives you a chance to pay close attention and come up with questions on the fly. So by knowing what's important to them, you can adjust your questions accordingly to have a better chance to succeed. The next piece of advice, don't make origami faces. If the pay or the benefits aren't to your standards, still be respectful. You still want to have a positive self-image because you never know, you may be interviewing at that company again in the future for a different position, and they're going to remember your origami face. And for my final piece of advice, if you're currently employed and the interviewer asks when can you start, don't say right away. This was an automatic no, and they weren't getting hired no matter what. The reason for this is because it shows lack of consideration for your current employer, and that you would do the same thing to us if something better came along. Always say that you are planning on giving at least a 2 weeks notice. The way you answer questions shows your character, so always answer questions in a way that shows that you're respectful and that you have a considerate side. But what do you think? Do you think it really is that hard to get a job? Or are the people who are saying it's hard to get a job just have poor interviewing skills? Let me know.